Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that will have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. The New Mutants number 22 from 1984, written by Chris Claremont and drawn by Bill Sienkiewicz. And look at the corner box here. Now, real quick, I want to show you something. 1984, 60 cents. What would you say in 4 years, so in 1980, that the price of comic books would have was? I'm not going to keep you guessing. 50 cents. In 5 years, 1980 is from 1980 to 1984 is actually 5 years, not 4. It's only risen 10 cents. Isn't that crazy when you look at today's prices and it goes from like $7 to $10? It is insane. Comic book prices these days, I tell you. So we got this cover by Bill Sienkiewicz, Once Upon a Time. And this is a bit of a weird story with a lot of dialogue. Great cover by Bill Sienkiewicz. It's just amazing. Bill Sienkiewicz is so creative. So what energy. If you remember when I started New Mutants with the graphic novel in #1, when it was Bob McLeod and Sal Buscema, I just could not wait to get to the Bill Sienkiewicz because it's just so unique. So we'll look at the cover one more time here, but kind of an homage to like the Disney fairies, Snow White, that kind of stuff. So, all right. So we've got Chris Claremont, Bill Sienkiewicz, Glynis Wein, Tom Orzechowski, Innocenti, and Jim Shooter. Pretty much the same people in charge for the last few issues. So we've got Nightcrawler here, and he goes, all limbered up, I suppose. So he's talking to Cannonball. Nervous? We're a long way above the floor. Scared of heights? Yeah, a little. And he's... I don't know why. It's just a thing they did in cartoons, and they did a thing where you kind of spit on your hand as you're going to grip on something. It's actually not something you'd want to do. That provides more moisture. Strange attitude from someone who can fly. So you see Nightcrawler is about to go in a trapeze. I love the yellow being used. I just do. Now, watch me, Sam, and do precisely what I do. So, very creative, very inventive. I don't know what to say except wow to the art. So we're gonna have a double page spread in the next issue here, and we see Nightcrawler grab the trapeze here and do he's an acrobat and do acrobatic maneuvers here. Chris Claremont gives us exposition on Nightcrawler. So how he worked in a circus and he was an acrobat and all that kind of stuff. And so Nightcrawler says, see how easy this is? Let your body flow naturally from one movement to the next. You'll be able to shift orientation in mid-flight. And then you see the teleportation. What? Just nobody. The creative forces behind Bill Sienkiewicz were just freaking amazing. So, all right. And then he teleports here without any trouble at all. You don't look convinced. And Cannonball is like, I understand what to do in my head. The problem is getting my body to follow through to it. And Nightcrawler says, there has to be a first time for everything. Stop worrying about it, Sam. Don't think, just to do. And Cannonball says, now or never, huh? Something like that, says Nightcrawler. Ain't worried about getting hurt. I'm invulnerable when I blast. It's failure I can't stand. And Nightcrawler says, I'm establishing a net. You can fall without fear. And he says, thanks. So I gotta let you guys know before we continue that there's a lot of words in this issue. I'm gonna do my best to just read what is important and kind of skip the rest because Chris Claremont loves his dialogue. So Sam thinks here, I'm the oldest of the New Mutants. Professor Xavier says the kids look up to me for leadership, to set an example, but everyone keeps forgetting. But everyone keeps getting better at using their powers while I pretty much stay the same. What if I'm as good as I'm ever going to get? I'm not improving because I can't. And Nightcrawler puts his arm on him, which I absolutely love these open border panels. You'll be fine, Sam. Trust me. So, here comes Wolfsbane, and she calls out to him, and he waves hi, and Cannonball says, just what I need, an audience. I came to wish you luck, and she blows him a kiss, which he accepts. Lord knows I could use some. And Rain says, ugh, I wish it weren't the demon teaching him. Nightcrawler frightens me so. How can anything so evil looking be a friend? Of course, she was raised very religious. So, all right, so Sam gets a head start and says, okay, folks, here goes nothing. And he blasts off. And off he goes. Chris Claremont, of course, just kind of lets us know how his powers work, but we already know that. And if you don't, go catch some of the videos that I have posted on this. I do have a playlist. And so he is going to try those maneuvers that he saw from Nightcrawler, and he's going to try it. And it's not working. And Nightcrawler thinks he left it too long. He's too close to the wall. He aimed the wrong way. And Nightcrawler teleports and gets in front of him, and he says, relax, Sam, I have you. He says, I blew it, Kurt. And Nightcrawler says, so? Down you go. Remember how to fall. He falls in the net here, and he thinks here, of all the lousy, dumb, stupid. If Nightcrawler hadn't caught me, I'd have splattered myself, but good. Or if I blasted, probably wrecked that wall that cost the professor $1,000,000 to repair in bills. I'm surprised I didn't break my neck when I landed. Must be losing my touch, he says. So, love the simplicity of the net. Bill Sienkiewicz doesn't use rulers. This dude just eyeballs everything. It's just amazing. If you get a chance on YouTube to look him up and look at his drawings, it's amazing here. And Nightcrawler asks him, are you sore? And Sam says, nothing's broke. And Nightcrawler goes, I didn't mean physically. And Sam says, I blew it. And Nightcrawler says, I did as I did the first time I attempted that move. And he says, Sam, no kidding? And Kurt says, what else do you expect? Perfection right off the bat? Sam says, yeah, kind of. Nothing worth doing comes that easy, hotshot, he replies. And continues here. We'll start again. Climb up there. I'll join you in a minute. And he goes up here. And so suddenly you see Rain kind of dressed as a clown. And Nightcrawler goes, may I have this waltz? I never danced. I didn't know how. Then, my dear, it's past time you learned. Enjoying yourself? Oh, yes, I'm glad. So they're dancing. This was a real pleasure, Rain, but I must go. Sam's waiting. Sam, but I thought, aren't you? And she says, demon, you tricked me. And Nightcrawler says, I meant no harm. I merely wished to show you that you should never judge by appearances. What a person or thing looks like means nothing. It is what they are inside, in their hearts and soul, that matters. And she says, liar, that's not true. It cannot be. If you're no demon, if you're not a demon, then all I've been taught since I was born, perhaps even the good book itself, is fall. And Sam says, Rain, wait, don't run. Of course, you see Nightcrawler stopping him. And he says, let her go. Leave her be for now. This is something the child has to work out for herself. And so now we are going to go to Colossus working with Sunspot here. And Colossus says, strength means little, Sunspot, without the knowledge to utilize it properly. I learned the hard way. Such skill is especially vital for you. My armored body can survive considerable punishment. For all your power, though, you are as fragile as any normal human. And uh, I love that fact that he's got a thing to cover, kind of like a boxer thing. That's actually pretty cool. And he thinks, pompous giant, I know that. By heaven, I would give anything to flatten you, Colossus, to show you I can take care of myself, he says. He thinks. And then he gets distracted by Rain here, and Colossus wallops him. Pay attention! That is awesome here. And he goes, ow. And Colossus says, in combat, a foe would not be so gentle. He says, he yells, Colossus, that hurt. And he thinks nobody strikes a Da Costa Russian, and gets away with it and pulls the mat underneath Colossus, which causes Colossus to fall. I don't want to play with sticks. Let's find out once and for all which of us is stronger. And Colossus says, if you insist, little boy, but you'll find it no and he was going to say contest, but then suddenly he screams out in pain. And I love this circle here. Bill Sienkiewicz not drawing backgrounds, as you can see here, just giving you enough, but adding stuff to make the panel look like there's something in there. And he thinks here, Sunspot, Colossus, no, out loud he says, Colossus, what is it? Are you hurt? I didn't mean. And then he thinks, Madonna, my hands. Madonna, not Madonna, the singer here. And then he goes, they're normal again. I must have been imagining things. And then he says, Colossus. And Colossus answers, don't be upset, Roberto. You are not to blame. I feel so strange. I probably caught a touch of the flu here. And so now we have Rain looking in here through this door. And here we have Moira McTaggart. She's looking in. And we got Moira McTaggart and Professor Xavier looking at Warlock. I love how Bill Sienkiewicz just draws a blotch here. And Morris talks here and says, can you read his mind, Charles? And Xavier says, yes, but comprehending those thoughts are another matter entirely. And Moira says, fascinating. His form's totally mutable. He can become anything he wants. And it seems he's as curious about us as we are about him as he looks. And Xavier telepathically says, I sense your presence, Rain. Is there anything you want? If it isn't urgent, I'd prefer you see me later. We're very busy. And Rain scoots away here. And Xavier says, Warlock consumes organic matter, but in a most unique fashion. This beaker contains a basic nutrient compound. With a touch, he somehow transmutes its substance into organic living circuitry like himself. Then he simply drains its energy, rendering the construct inert. He's done this to a flower, a tree, a demon. He could just as easily do it to a person. So now we have Rain kind of going into Danny's room. This is Danielle Moonstar. At this time, I believe she's called Psyche, but I know her name is changed to Mirage at some time. But she's on the phone here. And she's talking to her dad, or her parents here. And Rain doesn't wait for her and leaves after before she's done talking to her. Look at real quick the art of Bill Sienkiewicz, and look at this. Just this is not stuff anybody's doing with comic books here. I mean, the amount of black that he is putting in, even on the leg, it's just amazing. It's just so offbeat, so different than anything anyone has that anyone does here. So anyway, Danny sighs and she's like, I don't like this. She and Bobby have both been on edge lately, but neither of them will talk about it. I can't shake that feeling that something's wrong. really wrong, but what? And so we're now in Park Avenue in New York here, and you can see this guy waiting by this Rolls Royce. Um, and Chris Claremont lets us know this is in one of the most fashionable areas. And there's a her I think means Mister in German, Frederick von Rom. So this person calls him, and he says, "I am he, madame, the proprietor of this establishment." And she says, dismiss your staff for the rest of the day. I wish to speak to you in private. And she and turns the sign to close. And who are you to give me orders? Get out, woman, before I have you arrested. And she says, since you speak from ignorance, I'll forgive your impertinence this time. I would like this gem appraised. It is unique, legend says. When one looks at it a certain at it a certain way, in a certain light, a face can be seen. And she gasps, and he gasps, and says, by the sacred fire, Celine. And it's Celine, the future Black Queen of the Hellfire Club that we met earlier in New Mutants, when we met Magma. And he, on his knees, he says, after 2 millennia, our goddess has returned. Also, real quick, I love, so Bill Sienkiewicz is not doing, just everything is black. But to show, I love how he just leaves this part unblackened so it doesn't merge with all this. So everything's black. Just save a few things here. But just, it's just amazing. Very, very good. Very clever. So, yeah. So I like that little detail that he puts in there. And so Celine says, as your high priestess, blessed one, he says, as your high priestess, blessed one, I exist to serve. Your slightest wish is my command. And Celine says, such loyalty, Von Rum, is most welcome. I require a residence, one that will allow me both to exercise my power in safety and bring certain plans to their fruition, preferably one which provides access to wealth and influence. I believe I have the solution, he says. It is called the Hellfire Club. So, Claremont lets us know the admission requirements are simply itself. One must be phenomenally, almost impossibly rich. A very few, very select members are invited to join their secret inner circle, headed by the club's chairman, billionaire industrialist Sebastian Shaw. And now he's got Sunspot dad, Emmanuel da Costa. And I believe he's going to be in the inner circle. I don't know what position. I feel foolish dressed like this, Sebastian. And Shaw says, don't be, my friend. Our costumes signify our abandonment of the modern age. We are cloying ethics and Borges' mercantile principles, where society is bent on protecting people from themselves at any cost, for a far simpler one, where a man was limited solely by the scope of his imagination, his ambition, his daring, and bound only by his own personal sense of honor. Society, the common herd, means nothing. The individual, all. This is your last chance for second thoughts, Emmanuel. Once you cross the Rubicon, you can never turn back. And he says, I am ready. And Sebastian is glad. He says, splendid. I look forward to your initiation. So, all right. So back to the X Mansion. And again, just blackness. He just gives us a hint that this is the Xavier School is here. But, I mean, look at this. He is almost Frank Miller-ish in how much he silhouettes. He just allows just enough here. And we have Magma and Sunspot in the pool here. And we've got Rain up in her room here. And Rain wants to join them, but she wants to finish what she's doing first. And then she complains about how hot it is. And she is doing a story. So this issue is very similar to X-Men think it's Uncanny X-Men 153, if I remember correctly, where Kitty, I think, is telling Eliana a story. So basically, Rain kind of imagining herself sort of in a Disney thing. So she's writing the story. So we are going to skip a lot of this because this is sort of Rain trying to work her way, her thoughts and her feelings here. So you hear, Warlock and her. So we are going to, like I said, we're going to skip a lot of this, but I'm going to show you the remarkable art, similar to how I sort of skipped that issue, just because, again, this is just Rain kind of dealing with her thoughts, her things here. So, all right. And so now we are back into reality. So, and here it says here, later that night, all is calm, deceptively peaceful. As a story ends, a nightmare begins. Next, Shadow Man. So, we have the New Mutants number 22, written by Chris Claremont, drawn by Bill Sienkiewicz. Beautifully drawn. I hope you're enjoying this because Bill Sienkiewicz is really good. Look at this. Look at this inking job. Very, I want to say it, and I think the right word is sloppy. It is very sloppy, but it's not ugly. This is beautiful. I mean, just whatever. It's like, this is the thing. There's no right or wrong, man. You just draw, and that's kind of what I do. I just draw. It doesn't have to be quote unquote pretty or whatever. Look how Bill Sienkiewicz does, man. I strongly recommend, if you want to see more of his art, look him up on Google. His images are beautiful. Follow him on Instagram. Follow him on X, and go on YouTube. And there's a lot of drawings that he does and videos on YouTube of his stuff. So thanks for watching. Goodbye.